Close this window. All right, we are live. You guys, pardon our technical difficulties. We are 30 minutes behind here. My husband has been on the text messages asking me, use your iPad, use your phone. Well, you guys, StreamYard does not allow the host to use anything but their actual computer. So I couldn't do any of those things. For those of you who are jumping on, I know we're a few minutes late. This is not our normal time, but we know that means that this is going to be an amazing conversation because I have never had this issue on my end since I started using StreamYard. It had to happen one time to me when I was doing something else with someone else, but I have never had it happen to me doing this. So this means that this is a conversation that needs to be had. And I did see some stuff this week. So let me go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Dr. Torri J, founder and CEO of the Fatherless Generation Foundation. And I'm here tonight. This is part of our fatherhood conversation, our fatherhood series that we do on Sunday nights. We talk about a little bit of everything surrounding fatherhood. Tonight, we're going to continue the conversation of reunification. I have brought a friend. We started out on social media. Yes. We have now become friends. Our journeys are very, very similar. We're going to talk about her journey of reunification that she actually has published in a book, and it's called Dear Dad, It's Me. Yes. And we're going to go through this because there was a question that I saw on social media. Hey, Charles. My husband's queuing me up. So for those of you who are on, share. Now there's a motorcycle outside the window. And I got to have that window open. Look, I'm telling all my business because this is who I am. The AC is out, y'all. So I'm hot again in South Florida. So I have to have the window open, but they like loud stuff here in South Florida. But anyway, so my husband is putting up here, please share. So those of you who are watching and you know someone needs to kind of figure out, there's this one question that we're asking tonight. Do you as a fatherless child go looking for the dad, or do you wait for him to come find you? If you know somebody who has this story and this journey and they're wondering what to do, I want you to actually share this. Share, because it's going to be necessary in their conversation to know what they should do. Every situation is different. Lord have mercy. And I know y'all can hear it.
Yeah, I heard that one this time.
It's loud. They love loud stuff. I'm going to close it in a minute. But I'm bringing my friend, Pastor Markeida. So I got to put that in there because this goes to show that a title means nothing when you're fatherless.
That's right.
Nothing. So those of you who are watching, I'm going to give an introduction. I'm going to let her introduce herself, and I'm going to put her solo while I go close this window because I know that's not the only thing that's going to drive by. That's going to be loud. I'll just sweat it out. Markeida happens to be, she's a pastor. She has been married in 2 weeks for 26 years. We're going to talk about her marriage and how, right. Woo! Let's celebrate 26 years of marriage. Come on, somebody. And being fatherless. Oh, yeah. Let's celebrate. She's been married for 26 years. Their anniversary is coming up in 2 weeks. She has been a pastor. She's a mother. She's a grandmother, but I want to read something from the back of her book that's why all the accolades, I'm gonna let her do that. She even has a degree in psychology, right? That she is considering continuing the process. We had this conversation a few weeks ago. So but there's something I want to read on here that she said that I think is very important in the conversation we're gonna have tonight. And I'll let her then introduce and give you the rest of who she is. She says, you will follow a portion of my life's journey, she's talking about the book, as I traveled to reach the full potential God had for me because of being a fatherless daughter. I'm going to go to the next sentence. I have allowed myself to be transparent through my circumstances and decisions so that others can see that no matter what life dishes out to you, anyone can overcome the obstacles. Markeida, thank you so much for coming on here with me. So give people your version of who you are, ma'am.
Thank you for having me. First of all, I count it an honor to be here at the Fatherless Generation Foundation with Dr. Torri J, my friend. I am, as she said, a pastor. My husband and I have been pastoring for 4 years. In January, we'll make 5 years. And we have 3 sons, as she said, We have a daughter-in-law, we have a grandson, and we have one on the way.
No
A
way.
granddaughter on the way will be here in November. And as she said, a title or status in life has nothing to do with being fatherless. I have written this book, working on other books in the journey of forgiving and letting go. We're working on a marriage book, working on things because being fatherless did affect my marriage. It affected my children. They may not have even known they were affected because it was their normal um, seeing mom the way that I was. But we kept fighting for wholeness. And I'm pleased to be here to share a part of what we went through, how we were able to overcome uh, just the worst of situations. Not everything as a result of being fatherless. However, because of the fatherless issues, it made it just a little harder to get over and see the worth in myself and in God. So,
Come
yeah.
on. And I see somebody's already put your book in here. Peter Trump, you know this name, this person? He's already, you did, what'd you say?
I do not know.
Oh, he's already found your book, girl, and put the link in here for us already. I was going to do that while we were on here, but Peter has already put it on here for us.
Thank you, Peter.
Out there. Alicia, I think her name is, she said, thank you so much for sharing your testimony.
Yeah, that's Alicia. That's my sister. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this. So when did you discover you were fatherless? Because a lot of people don't know.
Well, I discovered the day Dad didn't come back home.
Okay. So
I didn't have the word fatherless. I didn't know it was a word, fatherless, but I knew that he wasn't there, and I was 7.
Okay. So at 7 years old, when you discovered that you were fatherless, which, for me, I'm going to say it this way. Throughout my process in doing this, or in my journey and doing this work, I am always amazed that people who are fatherless don't even know that they're fatherless sometimes, Markeida. So that's why I asked that question, because my husband was the one who helped me understand that I needed to launch I've Got Daddy Issues, because he told me he didn't know he was fatherless until he married me at 42, although his father wasn't around. And so that's not to say anything bad about him, because I've had this conversation multiple times, but it was this place where I kept getting stuck with reaching people. And I realized in that conversation, I was like, oh my God, he's not the only one who doesn't know. Yes,
you're right about that.
The only one. Yeah. And so when you say you knew at 7, see, Linda's chiming in. She said, my heroes. And she said, I love that question. But then she said, I had no idea until I was 26. Wow. So we have people walking around who don't even know they're fatherless, who are, hey, cousin Denise, I got to call you back. So, because I'm going to be in Dallas soon. But people don't know. So how did you know, and what did you feel when you discovered Dad's not coming back? What was the feeling, the emotion? Because we can always go back to that place. So what was that emotion?
The first thing I can remember is heartbroken.
Yes.
I could feel the heartbreak in not having my daddy show up. And at times when I was used to him being there. My mother and father were married, and then they divorced when I was 6 or 7. And but I do remember exactly at 7 him not being there. And so the heartbreak was my first feeling that I ever remember having for him not showing up.
When you say that that's the first feeling, my first memory that I have is going to get this DNA test and then not seeing him again after that. It's almost like, not almost, it is the moment when trauma hits, time stands still in a very weird way. Like you're still moving forward in life. You're still growing older. Life is still happening. But there is a part of you, arrested development. That's the term that psychologists use. But there is something that happens where time stands still, where this moment you will remember. So after feeling heartbroken, you're 7. How did heartbreak play out into your life's journey as a young child into your adulthood? Because you use that term, and I believe when you say something like that, that's the thing that you carry with you. So
Yeah.
what was that like growing up?
Let's say the word search. My first memory of him not being there, we were at my aunt's home, and I remember standing on the porch waiting for him to show up. And from that moment, it was like I went on a search. Like, where is he? Why didn't he come? And what did I do?
Mm.
How? What was my part in him not showing up? I just vividly remember standing on my aunt's porch, brick walls, um, brick brick house, cement porch, few steps up. Like vividly remember this at 7. So when you say Arrested Development, I was stuck right there at that moment, and from 7 until I turned 40.
Whew. Pause.
Until
Nope, I
I
get that with me.
40.
You were 7 years old until you turned 40.
40, yes, is when that search ended.
I want us to sit right there. Because you got married. How old were you when you got married?
I was 19.
Yep. She got married real young. But I love the fact that sometimes you can do that. I don't think there's an age to this thing. I think we should do it as young as we possibly can. Yeah. But getting married at 19, mm-hmm. you were still searching, not for the man, but for yourself and the rejection and the abandonment in your marriage.
I was searching because I knew where my father was. I wasn't searching for a human.
Right.
I was searching for the acceptance, the approval, the love. And so because I knew exactly where he was. I knew his phone number. I knew where I could find him. It was just about him wanting me. That search was, does he want me? And because I felt like he didn't want me, it made me want him more.
And it made you want him more. But how did that look in your relationship with your husband?
Can I say that?
Yes, you can. Because that's where I need to go.
Yeah.
I need us to go.
A lot of anger, a lot of frustration. I loved my husband dearly, with the limits that I was given. I didn't really know. Now I know that I didn't really know what love was, because my platform for love from a man was warped. And although my husband was and is still to this day the best man I know on earth, like that's crazy to say. I've birthed 3 sons, and he's passed those jewels down to them. Bless God. But outside of him as an adult, I don't know a man that is as a man as that he learned from his father, his father was a fatherless son, but his father decided, I will not repeat that. I will not give my children what I received. And so he raised a phenomenal man, his mother and his father. So after meeting my husband and marrying him, I knew I loved him. I knew I wanted him, but I was afraid. I was angry, full of anxiety, just dysfunctional and thinking. Triggers were all over the place. And I spent a lot of time fighting, trying to be free.
So what does that look like? Fighting to be free in a marriage.
In a marriage. The first years was fighting him.
Yep, that's where I want to know. We got to go there because people literally know this is what's playing out in their relationships, Markeida.
Yeah.
You're fighting for this weird freedom, but you think it's independence, and you think people are trying to control you.
Yes.
It's really you dealing with fatherless stuff, and you don't even know it when the person on the other side is loving you through it. And they're taking some hits.
Yes, he
took
some hits. Really good hits. Yes.
Yeah, he took some major hits. So
Yes.
I want to know what that was like. I know you two talk, and I've
Yes.
talked to you about the battle. And he even, okay, so let me share this because we've talked about it before, but people who are joining on now don't know this journey. I met Markeida online. She wrote the book, we talked, and we were trying to meet up one time. I was in Tulsa. My bonus daughter lives in Tulsa. We were there for her graduation. We were trying to meet up, but Markeida was also getting prepared for her graduation, and a lot of stuff was happening that weekend. So we didn't get to do it. I'm downstairs going to get something from my car or my husband's car, our car, whatever. And I see her in the lobby, and I'm like, Markeida? And so we meet face to face for the first time that day. We stand in the lobby for what?
2 hours.
3 hours, yeah.
Yeah.
And you are also sharing with me the 20 years. And he also comes and begins to talk about the 20-year battle. So they've been married almost 26, but 20 years, there was things that he had to love her through.
That's right.
Fatherless daughter. And so it was a fight to love her through those moments for 20 years. And he rode this thing out with you. And so when you say that you were fighting for freedom, Markeida,
Yes.
I want you to minister to some people right now about that. Because I hear that a lot in my conversations.
Yes. You know, fighting for freedom is an effort that you have to be intentional. I have great pastors in my life. My own pastor, Apostle Hamilton, my church family, my husband, my mother, they were all in my corner trying to encourage me, taking me from level to level through breakthrough, because I'm a church girl, always been a church girl, you know, and so I know I'm very familiar with church lingo. And so, you know, they took me through some difficult times. The most important thing that I had to learn was it's great to have those encouraging people, but it wasn't until I was actually ready. I had to get to a point where I was tired of the drama within me. I was maturing as you should as an adult. So I knew how to cover up the dysfunction. I knew how to smile through it. I knew how to act, you know, accordingly. But on the inside, I was tormented. I was depressed. You know, it was a constant fight. Not every day, but there were moments in months and weeks where I struggled. You know, and then there was times where I felt freedom and I was good, and then that cycle came right back around. And this happened over a course of 20 years. So I'm talking about a 20-year battle. But it was that moment where I decided I'm literally done. Like, I can't make anybody love me. I can't make anybody be there for me. I am totally over it trying to convince somebody that I'm important enough when I actually didn't feel that about myself. I really didn't. And so I got to the point where I was going to stop using people to break me through. And I used the strength that I knew I had. And I had one of those pit moments in my life. And I talk about this in any of my motivational speeches, in my preach word, literally today, where I talked about that pit moment. I didn't give details of the pit moment, but I hit rock bottom. And it was like, okay, Markeida, you either live or you're going to die like this. What do you choose?
Come on.
And so I decided, yeah, I'm not dying like this. Why would I live through all of this? Why would I survive all of the trauma that I've been through and then decide to die at the end? No, I'm a survivor. God gave me that strength. He allowed me to go through this for a reason. I never knew. You know, I was prophesied to. I was told that that your fatherless journey is gonna be a blessing to so many people. I literally scoffed it. I was like, yeah, no, I don't think that's gonna happen. Not because I didn't believe the person talking, but because I was so broken, I could not see me being free.
Mm.
God had a plan for me, and when I got up from that pit moment, I decided to live, Dr. Torri, and that was literally letting go I just had to say, I'm done.
Let me say this, because you said a couple of things in here that I want to highlight. I want to, and Peter, I see your question. I'm going to answer it. Let me get through this phase and we're going to get to that, because I want you to hear Markeida's journey. She does reunite with her father. I'm killing the end of the movie right now. I'm giving you the end of the movie. But you said a few things here that I need to dismantle misnomers and myths about.
Okay.
When you are fatherless, you don't walk around looking pitiful all the time.
No.
It's not an every single day thing that's bothering you. It literally comes in waves. And Markeida even talked about the cycles. So you can be really good for a month, 6 months, a year. But when it hits, it hits like an alcoholic who's now being, tempted to drink again. And then when you drink, you're down for a moment. You can be down for a day, a week, a month, a year. It just depends. It's the same, like it feels like an addictive behavioral pattern. Which some people say that, who are psychologists, they say things like that. So I need for people to understand the reason you don't think you're fatherless is because you don't walk around, woe is me. You don't walk around, feeling unsuccessful all the time. But I will tell you that you probably have the imposter syndrome, whether you want to acknowledge it or not, because many fatherless individuals feel like they are in a place, in a situation, given opportunities that they don't believe they deserve, because they feel like they're an imposter. They feel like they're going to be found out that they're fake and a fraud. That is a part of who we are for whatever reason. But I need you to understand that this thing comes in waves, and it hits hardest when you are in the midst of a breakthrough, especially in a relationship with a love interest, a husband and wife, or you're getting to the point of marriage and you're getting engaged. That thing will hit you the hardest in the greatest breakthroughs and transitions of building relationships. And you need to understand that. And some of us don't. So Markeida, I want you to describe for us one of the greatest challenges or cycles, let me call it that way, because we talk about cycles and waves. What was one of the greatest cycles and waves that hit you and your husband? Look, she already know what it is. What's the greatest cycle and wave that hit you and your husband, where you knew when you look back, it was a fatherless thing and it almost took your marriage out?
I would say searching. Searching takes you on a path of darkness. Never finding satisfaction, never finding that thing in life that says, oh, I can relax. My husband has been a great provider financially. We haven't always had great things, but he's always been a great provider. Seeing him with our children and functioning and being coaches and going to school and being in activities, supporting them, chastising them, correcting them, encouraging them. Though that was challenging for me, because I love seeing it in my children, but I missed it for me, because I was thinking, well, what better person could I be had I had a father in my life to affirm me, to be there for me, to just send me a letter. We didn't have text messages back then, so it was a letter. Just write a card, send a card, just acknowledge. So that that search for completeness and wholeness, and that really challenged my marriage, because everybody could see how beautiful our marriage was, how beautiful our family was, but I couldn't see how beautiful I was. And because I couldn't see that in me, I couldn't see it in my family as well as I can see it today. Now it's like, oh God, can I just go back about 20 years, and just be, and I've always been an at-home mom. So I was always there for my children. The thing is, I wish I could have been whole. I wish, if I could have been whole with them. I just feel like I could have been a better mother.
You could have given them more.
Yes, definitely a better wife, but yeah.
Okay, so I want to fast forward because we already at the time when we normally would get off of here, but I'm gonna keep you a little longer because we got to get to this
I'm good.
reunification. So you are 7 years old until you're 40.
Yes.
40 is the time when you reunite with your father.
Yes.
What initiated you to even do that?
Well, throughout the years, I've always been the type where I would reach out. Um,
Mhm.
Father's Day, birthday, just because, just, I was the one initiating many, many, many times. It's not to say he never did, but I was the one seemingly being the one to try to reconcile us in whatever capacity I could as a child, and as a young adult. And so when I was when I before I turned 40, I was 39. I just had finished writing Dear Dad, and I put everything in it that I thought I could put in it. And so I was like, well, I guess I better try to get in touch with him to say, hey, I got this book,
Got this book coming out about you.
my book coming out. You might think about this. Well, I tried several times. I couldn't reach him. It took me a year, literally a year. So I had a couple dreams. Um, Finally, I won't go into details about the dreams, but I had a couple of dreams, and it really sparked for me to just be like, hey, let's reach out. Well, I got a phone call from a family member. They were like, hey, so and so is not doing well. You should call Dad. And I was like, well, no, you tell him to call me because I am done trying
Calling
to
you.
reach out. Yeah, that is just over. I had just reached my limit. Well, he did. I got the phone call, and we talked. It was actually Christmas Day, I believe 2015. Um, and I was like, we talked, and just a few moments on Christmas Day. I was ecstatic about that because that was very far and in between to have a phone call from Dad on Christmas Day, right? So I'm like, like this is the best Christmas ever, even though it's just a like 9 minute call, few minutes. But hey, it was worth it. It was like I was excited. My
We get excited about stuff like that. Yes.
39-year-old, 7-year-old self,
Yep.
just resorted right back to being 7, literally. And so we ended up scheduling another time to talk. We ended up talking 2.5 hours. I don't think I had ever in my life spent 2.5 hours on the phone with my dad. And we reconciled over the phone at that moment. The blessing about this was I had made up in my mind that I'm no longer going to hurt. I'm forgiving, I'm letting go, and I'm going to be free.
Mm-hmm.
And he's saying, well, I'm going to come and visit. I really didn't believe it, because there were so many other opportunities where things didn't fall through. So I was like, okay, I'll believe it when I see it. But I was appreciative of the phone call. Well, he kept his promise, and he came the following year in 2016. He came, um, stayed in my home 3 days, a weekend. I thought I was dreaming. I thought, oh God, like, is this real? Is this really, really happening? I was super excited. Uh, and I had an aha moment at this point. After he left, I was so grateful for him being here and just kind of mending that hole. I felt like I had forgiven him because, previously before this, I thought if I ever get a chance to talk to him, I'm going to give him a piece of my mind and I'm going to tell him about himself. And, we never had that conversation.
Didn't even happen.
I didn't need
Why
it.
didn't it happen? Tell me, do you know why it didn't happen for you?
Yes,
Why didn't it happen?
because I forgave. I
Mm-hmm.
forgave him. I stopped looking for an apology. I stopped looking for him to be who he could not be to me. And
Let me
that was
tell, let me tell you when mine happened. When I walked up to the door, I had already planned on this 2 hour trip from Toledo, and I'd already flown from Atlanta to Toledo to drive to Kalamazoo, which was a 2 hour drive. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna tell him. Oh,
yeah.
right? Get to the door. They have him planted at the door already waiting for me to come in.
Yeah.
And when he hugged me, his hug, and he whispered in my ear, I love you. And everything I thought I was going to say,
Yes.
gone. Because forgiveness happened in the moment when he said, I loved you.
Yes.
It happened
Wow.
instantly. And that's the part that we don't get to experience if we're not reunited with our fathers. But
yes,
I want to pause for a moment and just talk to the audience a little bit. We have to recognize that all of the hurt that you're feeling, all of the stuff, sometimes you don't get an opportunity to reunite with the dad because you've got all of that you're trying to bring to the table. The truth of the matter is he had the same experience that you had growing up.
Right.
And we have to have compassion for the people who birthed us, right? Because that's my mom and my dad, but they were people.
Yes.
I heard a conversation. I watched this movie the other night called Little White Lie on Amazon Prime. Go watch that movie, y'all. It is a situation of secrets. It is a daughter who thinks she's got a father, but she don't. Like, it's crazy. The little girl, she was raised white, but she was biracial. When I tell you, it's crazy. And so she finds her dad along the way. But her mother said something at the end when her mother couldn't really get an apology out, and it was going through this stuff. And finally, at the end, right before it goes off, her mother says, before I was your mother, I was a woman. And before I was a woman, I was a young lady. And before I was a young lady, I was a child. And before I was a child, I was just me. And if more parents could just say that to their children, we would see you as superheroes, and we wouldn't be walking around with all this stuff in our hearts concerning our fathers. Because we have to recognize this is not an excuse. This is a reason, people. We don't give our fathers enough grace and humanity.
You better say it.
We don't. And he's got to be all of this, but our mothers can get all of this grace when she might have been the one who didn't tell the whole story. And we'll get into that a little bit in your conversation on what that was like with your mother and journeying with her in your reunification. But we have to give our fathers this place of humanity, knowing that maybe they had a broken up situation at home. Like you said, your husband, his father did, but his father broke the cycle. One of us has to break it. Why do we put so much pressure on our dads acting like, well, you should have been the one? What if he didn't have the tools? Your mother didn't have the tools to raise you. If you were really honest, she did the best she could, is what we said. And most of the best she could means it was dysfunctional and traumatic. But we don't say that.
That's right. You better say
our daddies up, Markeida, and we will act like they, like they deserved it. And it's just, they were two human beings who got together more than likely out of their own dysfunctional patterns, and they didn't recognize it at the time. So just listen to that for a moment, you guys. So, Markeida, I want to point out a part in the book too, in the Father Challenge, and I'm gonna read it. It's the chapter about the Father Challenge. Your children are a part of you, and when you neglect your children, you are rejecting yourself. In my opinion, a parent who can reject their own children could not possibly love themselves when they know they are hurting the children they vowed to love. I've often wondered how a parent can love someone else's children over their own, how you bring children into your house and welcome them as your own, and then turn your back on the children you created who need you. Now, I'm going to tell you something. When I read that, and I wanted to point it out because it's tabbed in my book, I wanted to point out because a lot of people want to know that answer.
Yes.
What was your understanding? What has become your understanding? And I'll give you mine at the end. What has become your understanding of this rejecting a child, knowing that they need you and love you and they need your love, but loving other children that aren't your own, but while rejecting your own? What did you get from that now that you know more?
I don't know more about that.
Okay.
I have accepted it.
Okay.
But I don't know more of the reason why.
Okay. Let me jump in here because I've learned too much not to say anything. When a father lives across town and he raises other children and invites them into his home as though they're his own, but still rejects the other family. And when you see him out and about with the family, and he acts like he don't see you, or is real brief and it's not as in loving, as embracing as it is with those children that are in his home, whether it's another lady's children or the children that he now makes with this other person, this other relationship he's in, most of the time that rejection isn't about you. It is about the relationship they had with your mother, period. I can tell you, I have had at least 100 or so cases like that. And when it all boiled down to it, and when we all got to the tax of the matter, it was all about the relationship with the mother, not making that okay, but an understanding. He didn't come around because maybe he couldn't. Some alienation was going on. Or he decided not to deal with the drama that came from your mother. I know women who do hoops and loops and different things. Or he just didn't have the tools to navigate his own brokenness when he looked into your eyes as his daughter and into your mother's eyes as his ex-wife. That's a pain that a lot of men don't want to repeat, and a lot of women don't want to repeat, but we do somehow. And when we can't understand it, we will take another opportunity and try to make that as this is my redeeming moment. This is my new opportunity. And that is what happens a lot of times when we're dealing.
Absolutely. You're right. I have encountered that with so many people. I don't think I necessarily encountered that in my own personal situation.
Right.
Because my mother was very, what I always observed, I would say it like that, very encouraging of us loving him and reaching out to him. And she would help me to locate and call, and so it was never she never was like, no, you can't talk to him or you can't go. If he said I could come, I would try to go. She would allow that. So that's why I say I don't know the reason. I have my speculations, but I won't put that out.
Right. You don't know the answer. You don't know.
I know the answer, but as soon as I find out the answer, I'll speak on that thing and won't hesitate. But I do have my speculations, not only as you gave examples about the mother, but it could be the other relationship that he goes into.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Yes.
That has a factor in it. So
sorry, I didn't do the fourth one. That's very true.
So
we'll tear it up, won't we? Oh, Jesus.
Yes.
It might not be the mama, but it might be the other female in the situation.
Absolutely. And so we've encountered those situations before. In my own personal one, I don't have concrete. Like I said, by the time I was 40, and it was like, you know what? At this point, I don't really care. I'm just tired of hurting. I'm ready to move on in my life. I am tired of being 7, standing on the porch, looking for you. At 40, literally, that's where I was. And hitting that pit moment gave me the affirmation that I needed to just get up and say, hey, be done. And whatever comes, you accept it. One thing and I want to share this, one thing that helped me in that moment of reaching the pit moment was I heard this woman talk about her fatherless journey. And she said that she realized that her father didn't have the capacity to love her. I don't know what else she said. She had a whole hour-long conversation, but when she said the word capacity, that grabbed and arrested my heart. I said, that's the problem. He doesn't have the capacity to love me. Not that he can't love, not that he's not able to love someone else, but whatever it is that I need, he's not able to give it to me. Otherwise he would, because he's shown me examples that he can't love. Because I see it in his efforts to raise someone else's children. So you're able to be there. You're able to support. You're able to be that father figure. But it was just something about us, my siblings and I, that we were not able to get that. And now I understand, basically, Dr. Torri, it was just my journey. It was just the journey that I have now accepted so that I can be the woman that I'm supposed to be. Everybody has their own journey in life. Every heartache, every broken heart, everything that they go through. It is a part of the journey that they are supposed to take. And I've accepted that and realized it just wasn't in our cards. It just wasn't for us to have that type of relationship. And so now, and once I accepted that, because before I'm wanting something that I don't have. And it made me want it more and more and more. The more I lived, the more I became an adult. The more I watched television and read books, it made me even the more decide, hey, I want this. Why can't I have it?
But this is my question. But this is my question. I don't mean to cut you off, but this is my question. Were you wanting a fantasy, or were you really wanting a father?
That's good, because in the beginning it was I wanted a father, but eventually it turned to fantasy. Because, this idea that a father is supposed to be this and this and this and that and that and that. And like you said, we don't give our parents grace. We think they are supposed to be perfect and they are supposed to be Johnny on it, and you can't make any mistakes, and you're supposed to be there for me, say the right things, love me right. And we don't give them grace to make mistakes based off of how they grew up.
Yes.
And crazy thing is, both of my parents came from marriages until death do them part. Their parents stayed married until they.
But there's a part of the journey with your dad that you don't know.
Exactly.
That's the thing. I want to ask Peter's question, because he's got another good question. He said, I am a dad myself. May I ask what your dads could have done for you instead? I think what he means, for you to feel accepted in the midst or after divorce. What could your dad have done for you?
Just simply called me. I never wanted money. I never wanted you to buy me things. I never wanted my dad to go out of the way. Just acknowledge. Just don't ignore me when I call. Answer the messages that I leave on your voicemail. Just return the call.
You're looking for engagement. I give you. Yeah. Because once you're an adult, this is not a 7-year-old interacting with her adult father. These are two adults, although we do act from that age. We interact from that age that when we got left. So you were 7 when you first started interacting with him. And you were able to grow into your true adult self at 40. You got a whole lot of amens here. Aletha says she's just now recognizing some of the stuff that we were talking about. So Peter asked another question. She says, as Torri said, her father loved her, but still these situations exist all too often in which as a child you feel your father is rejecting you. So and this is so funny, because Peter, this is the part that I think is very interesting. Because we don't know, we then create an understanding from our lack of knowledge. See, the fathers are over here like, I'm trying to fight and I'm trying to do this and I'm trying to do that. And your father might have the same conversation. I don't know the answer to that. Maybe I'll ask you that, and maybe that's the next thing I want you to answer. Did you think that he ever, or did you talk to him and he ever fought for you anyway? I will tell you, Peter, my father was, this is something that's already out here, so I'm going to put it out here and say it again. My father was married. I am a product of an adulterous affair, so that's very challenging to engage a situation when your child is the product of an adulterous affair. However, my father did come to my mother and ask if I was his daughter. My mother said no, she believed I was someone else's. But he, throughout his life's journey, when he got married the second time and he was dating the young lady who's now my bonus mother, he told her, I have a daughter and she's going to come find us one day. So I'm just telling you this to be upfront. He always knew. My mother didn't. Now my mother can look at pictures of Markeida and be like, child, you look just like your daddy.
Wow.
But when then she'll see another angle, she'll be like, girl, you look just like your mama. So, but you never be able to say that before Markeida, ever. So that shows healing even with my mother.
Yes.
When it comes to that. But why do these things still exist? Why did you think that your father didn't love you? Although on the other side, You had forgiven him, and you now, I believe you've seen clear love from him. Why did you not think that he loved you?
Because I think love is an action word. I think love is something that you show. I can't just tell you that I'm going to feed you and then I never give you anything to eat. Then you're going to think I'm neglectful. So if you say I love you, then love has to be shown. And if you never show it, how else would I know that you
Yeah.
actually love me? And so that was the problem that I had. Oh, I love you. And whenever those times came where we were able to talk throughout those years, I love you. I miss you. I think about you all the time. Well, how do I know that if you don't engage me, if you don't show me? So
Yeah.
that was my biggest challenge. Like, I didn't know it. And so I felt rejected. I felt abandoned. I felt unloved because I couldn't see it as your pattern that you also spoke of.
Yeah. And I will say, because even in your book, you have chapters on everything from the rejection to the issues that you had, the broken cycle, the trust issue, the walls, the validation, the reconciliation. All of that's in your book because those are all moments we feel. The thing that I want to push forward right now is this conversation of, do we initiate the relationship with our fathers or do we not? I noticed in your conversation, you are chasing, searching, calling, all of those things. Happens a lot for people. They eventually have to say, that's it, I'm done. He's not interested. I wrote one letter. We were stuck together from that moment.
Wow.
Okay. So the answer to the question is every situation is different. So each person who needs to initiate is different. My father was married, not to my mother.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to initiate that conversation, right? If your parents weren't married and there are issues that ensued in the midst of that, you may have to be the person to initiate it. I have a dear friend, Markeida, who he is a product of rape. But when you try to engage the father who is now being accused of rape, you ain't never going to get that acknowledgement. Because he said he didn't rape your mother.
Wow.
Okay? There's whispers that it happened and it didn't happen. So this man doesn't know your situation. Your parents were married, got a divorce. Your father walked out from what you could see. You don't know what happened in the divorce court. You don't know. And I'm not, your mother, I have met your mother. Your mother is the sweetest pie. She is. But this is the question. How do we know when to initiate when there's a divorce that happened, when we're like, well, he left? Because it could be that he left. It could be the other woman. Like you said, he's got other kids he's raising. It could be your mother or anybody's mother that's hindering that. So it's just like with Markeida. She had a dream and it caused her to initiate something. But then it came a point where she was like, you know what? No, he gonna have to call me.
Yeah.
Right? I was in Bible school at the time, Markeida. And I kept hearing things, fatherless, connect with your father, reconcile. It was everywhere.
Wow.
It was everywhere. And it was clearly the thing that God wanted me to tackle while in Bible school. You know, when you're in Bible school, you think you're studying the word, but you really live in it. Okay. You get to live that thing out. What did he say? He said, I will turn hearts of fathers back to their children. Does that mean that he has to come to you because his heart is now turned? No, maybe your initiation is the turn. Maybe he doesn't know how to turn because he's got so much guilt and shame. And you making one phone call will allow him to drop all of his defenses and tell you everything you need to know.
Yes.
We don't know, but you have to be led by your spirit and your instincts. And that's what I want to put out here as far as I'm concerned, as far as who initiates and who does that. I want to read something before I ask you the last question and tell people where to connect with you, Markeida.
Okay.
So I thought it was perfect timing that today was the 1-year anniversary of a young lady who was adopted in finding her father. And I remember when she came to me, I was like, this girl is off the chain. I don't know if I want to meet her. She random. She tried to meet with her in some place. And I'm like, fine, we'll meet at a coffee shop. I felt the desire to meet with her.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to read you what she posted 1 year ago. 1 year ago. She said, I'm glad I used my last $5 in gas to come see you in Buckhead. My entire world was crumbling when I came to see you, and talking to you made me realize I wasn't crazy and I needed to be courageous enough to continue pressing forward. You were with me several times in this journey, even though you didn't realize it. So I thank you now. I know my birth father never signed adoption papers and was looking for me the entire time.
Wow.
I can't wait to show him your picture, because you and your beautiful energy and passion helped an alienated father connect with his daughter, because God put you and your guidance in my path at just the right time. She then said, and that crazy man outside of the coffee shop was confirmation that I was on to something. And there was a negative force trying to hinder whatever was meant to happen or about to happen. I'm telling you, God put you right there that day because my bio father needed you to help me fight for him. I didn't want to meet with the girl. I was busy.
Wow.
But I paused and said, I'm going to spend a couple minutes with you at a coffee shop. I'm going to walk across the street. I'm telling you, this is, I don't know if she knows this, but I was like, that was her last $5. She was about to be evicted.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, I'm going to spend some time. I don't have any money for you, but I'm going to spend some time with you. Help you, whatever this is. She was coming to me about her daughters and their situation, but somehow hers was on the table that day. And the crazy man was some guy foaming at the mouth, doing all kinds of crazy stuff across the way from us. We knew he was darkness. We moved and let him handle his own business where he was and continued our conversation. But a year after that moment, she was able to reunite with a father. People gathered together money to send her on a flight to meet him in Oklahoma. She spent a week with him there on the ranch, seeing what he does, who he is, and the whole nine.
Yeah.
It's all up to us if we want to break through.
That's right.
And overcome. So I want to ask you, like, what would you tell people who are right on the edge on whether to do it or not to do it? Who initiate? What would you tell them, Markeida?
As you said so perfectly, be led of your heart. If you feel that tug or that encouragement, or someone randomly, or you hear this random voice says, go for it, I would say go for it, because you never know when or if it's your last time. And so in those dreams I had and I received the phone call, that was my moment of my last moment. No, you tell him to call me. And had he not called me, we may not be having this conversation the way we're having it, but he did. But I knew that was my last attempt, because I was ready to move forward. So I would encourage you, anyone who's listening, wondering, what should you do? I'm 15 years old. Should I initiate my father? Go for it. I'm 27. Should I initiate finding my father or reconciling with my father? Go for it. Because at the end of the day, you have to have the peace within you.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're tormented because we either don't act on it or we act too slowly, and so I would say go for it. Give it a shot. You never know what will happen. And if it doesn't work out in your favor, it's not because you didn't try. And you can give yourself the pat on the back that you tried. You tried. And that's what gave me a lot of satisfaction throughout the years, the fact that I tried. I wrote letters. I sent cards. Now, did he get them? I don't know, because I never got responses back. But I mailed them, You
never got them back, so somebody got them.
Somebody got them. Yeah.
And this is what I want to say. Our healing is our responsibility.
That's right.
Once I met my father, I made the decision to have zero expectations, because whatever I was going to receive in the relationship from him was more than I had.
That's good.
And like you said, it could have been too late. I had 2.5 years with him before he died of diabetes complications. And that relationship was built. It wasn't what I wanted it to be, because I've talked about this before, because when you get into a room, when your DNA is in the room and your skin starts to feel all kind of crazy and you don't want to be in there too long, it gets intense. So Markeida, we already got Peter, he already put the link for your book in here before I could
Yeah.
even put it in there. So I'm grateful for you, Peter, for doing that.
Thank you, Peter.
Tell people where they know where they can buy the book. Where can they contact you just to learn more about your ministry and this fatherless journey that you're on?
The name of my church is Powerhouse Praise and Deliverance. You can Facebook it. It's also on Instagram, Powerhouse Praise PMU on Instagram. You can locate me at Dear Dad It's Me, Facebook and Instagram. And you can also find me Markeida Johnson on Facebook or Markeida J on Instagram.
Well, I thank you for coming on here and sharing with people that reunification is possible for women. I've had men come on and talk about it, but I wanted to have a female come on and talk about it because I say enough. But I wanted people to know there are other women who've reunited with their fathers. Let me ask this because I know people want to know. What is your relationship like with your father now before we get off of here?
It is growing. It is what I want to say it correctly. As you said, you get what you expect from it. I don't expect the fantasy. So I'm not looking for the TV version of father and daughter.
Come on.
I'm looking for what my relationship is to my dad. So right now, when we hang up, I could call him. He would probably answer, or if he doesn't answer tonight, he'll call me in the morning. That it's like that. So we do have a communication avenue. I've been to his home. We talk, quite regularly. I would like to do more often, but nothing fantasy, nothing crazy. But I can talk, a little more often, but that's okay because I'm super busy. He's busy and I'm good with that. But the fact that I know that my heart is healed and that my spirit is whole, I am so good with what we have. So I say it's a thumbs up. I'm not crying anymore. I'm not depressed anymore.
Yeah, and you're not in the cycles in your marriage anymore. How about that?
Right. When you said my husband carried me, he literally carried me until I was healed. And I will love him for eternity. I will love him for eternity. The right way, the real way. So
yeah. Well, you guys, I want to thank you for tuning in. I saw people jumping on and off, and I got several of these watch parties up on social media. So I am grateful because I can see who's on and who's jumping off and on watching. I want you to recognize that no matter what the situation is between you and your father, you have to be led by your heart. But when you go to initiate it, if you are the one led to initiate it, I don't want you to lead with your hurt and pain. I don't want you to lead with your rejection and your abandonment. I want you to lead with your love and compassion, because just like you need it, he needs it too. Absolutely. And so, you guys, I'm Dr. Torri J. I am the founder and CEO of the Fatherless Generation Foundation. I am grateful to be able to have my friend, Pastor Markeida Johnson, on to talk about her journey. And if you got to get more, because the book is like unadulterated. It gets into it, y'all. So we need to get into it. You need to get this book and you need to find out more about her journey so that maybe it can help give you insight into your own. I'm grateful to have you guys on. We'll see you on Tuesday for Healing Tuesday. All right. Bye-bye.
See you later. Bye-bye.